Hey everybody, it's Ted from It's All About the Rack. Today's video is going to be an overview and usage video of this knife sharpener. It is the Ken Onion Edition made by Worksharp. Stay tuned. We all use our knives a lot. We got some good ones, some really good ones, some questionable ones, on down the line. But basically, since we rely on our knives and we spend good money for them, we want to make sure that they're sharpened well. I've gotten a lot of different sharpeners over the years. Some of the cheapy draw-through style, you know, handheld, small, little, tiny ones that you draw through. On up to some decent draw-through ones. I've done some of the grinding stone style, oil on them, rub them by hand, all that kind of different stuff. And just in searching for a good knife to sharpen some of the knives I had, I ended up running across this one. So it is a belt system. You can get different belts with different abrasive texture to them. You can go all the way to a leather strop and really make a real fine edge to it, polish that edge really good. So today, like I said, I'm going to be taking this one through the paces. I'm going to be showing you done on this knife here. So as you can see, tip is completely blunted off. There is a gouge there that you can see, and there's some down on the bottom is here as well. So I'm going to be putting this knife sharpener through the paces and showing you what it's all about. Okay, this is a chart that you get with the sharpener. So it basically in this section here tells you how to draw the knife through when it's going against the blade. So basically what they're telling you is that you're going to pull it through about a second per inch, which that can be varied. You'll kind of get a feel for it. And the most important thing though is when you're getting to that tip, you've got to be careful that you actually don't pull the tip completely off the belt, because otherwise what it'll end up doing is it'll round the tip completely off. So basically it says, what type of knife are you sharpening? It's going to be serrated, hunting, pocket, kitchen, or fillet. Then it basically asks you, what are you doing with the knife? Is it a bragging rights knife? Is it everyday hunting, chopping, or slicing? So from there, you basically just look at it and say, what is the blade like? Is it completely dull? Has it been neglected a little bit? I mean, where are you kind of at with that particular style of blade? And then from there, you can go ahead and it'll give you a suggested belt grit to use. And it'll tell you actually how many times it thinks you should be pulling it through for that particular one. Now, since I've been using this, I can honestly say that the chart is good as far as walking you through what belt grits. You can feel them and kind of tell the difference, but the suggested amount of times to draw it through, I don't think really work unless all of my blades are just extremely dull. But maybe they're figuring that you're going to be sharpening these a lot more than what the average person really is. So what I have found is that once I get a particular grit that I'm looking for to start with, or that I've graduated to, I'm going to go ahead and pull that through as many times as I see fit, basically, to get me that edge that I'm looking for, the polish to that edge that I'm looking for. So it's going to be an experimental thing for you, and once you really get into using it a few times, you pick it up rather quick. So when you get the package, you're going to get some various belts. Now these are more belts than what you get in the package, because I sent away and got some more, but I'll put a link into a place that I found some belts. I believe they're out of Texas, and you can get all different various grits of belts. So today we're going to be starting off with I believe it's around a 600 grit. So what you want to do is you want to turn the edge guide so it'll be out of the way of the belt. And then on the back end of this, roller, there's a little finger guide. You can just grab that and pull it up. It's right there. Just grab that and pull that up. That'll create slack between the rollers so you can put the belt on. So you just pull it up I usually push it into the bottom first, try to get the back going, and then you have to obviously get it in between the guides. You let back down, and then that's basically it. When you get it up to power, even if the belt isn't centered, when you put power to it, maybe you can see on it, the belt will seek center. So you really don't have to worry about where the belt's in. There is an adjustment on the back of it, which you can, it adjusts the tension of the actual belt, like how tight this is gonna be, but the belt will find its center. So you're gonna go ahead, pull your edge guide back out, and basically, as you're pulling the knife through, this edge guide is just gonna give you some support. What that support is actually gonna do is it's gonna stop the knife from going too far down into that belt. Now, there are a lot of guys that will run this without that edge guide because they get a really good feel to it. I don't sharpen knives on a daily basis by any means, so I kind of like the edge guide where it's at. So when you're pulling this through, I have found that if you kind of get the blade all the way into the back portion of the knife itself, you kind of seat it into the belt, you push a little bit of pressure, not so much you're actually going to spring the guide outward, separating it from its 20-degree angle, which is something I overlooked. We did set this at a 20-degree angle for this particular type of knife. So basically that's just achieved by turning this dial, and you can see it's varying those outward. So gonna set that at our 20-degree again. Again, you're gonna pull it through, put it seated all the way into the back cutting edge, here. You're gonna put a little bit of pressure toward the outside. You're gonna draw it through, and it's actually going to hit on that roller as you're drawing it through. And you wanna go about that fast. Seems to be a good speed. If you're gonna go too fast, you're not gonna maximize your sharpening ability. If you go too slow, you run the risk of actually grinding too much in certain areas. If you speed up and slow down, or you run the risk of actually burning the blade material itself. The best thing to do is to alternate. That way you know you got the same amount. If you always start on one side or the other, you know when you're gonna finish up, it's gonna be on that opposite side. That way you're pulling through the same amount of strokes on each side. So this does have a speed control. Again, you can set it at a mid position. It does have a lock. The lock, I have found, it only goes to probably like a like in between a medium and a low speed. So there is like a circle. It does get wider as it goes out, so you can kind of plot where you're at on that. So today I'm just going to set it in between. That way I know it's on my medium speed. And go ahead and draw this through a couple times to show you what it's all about. So again, seating it all the way toward the back, getting it close to that edge guide, putting a little pressure going that way toward this edge guide again. And then I'll pull power up, and we'll go ahead and pull the blade through a couple times. So what I like to do is I just like to get it started first, get it up to speed. And I'll go ahead and pull it through, feeding it, and then drawing it through. And again, we don't want to completely pull that edge off. We want to pull it away from it, because if you pull it off, what it'll end up doing is around that. Again, I don't know what kind of edge I'm going to end up getting out of this because it was so blunted, but we'll keep on doing this. I'll get it to a point where it probably definitely does have a bit of a point, or somewhat of a point going to it, maybe a lot better than what it had. But again, getting it up to speed, putting the blade in there, putting a little bit of pressure toward the guide, not enough to spring it out, and then go ahead and pull it through about that pace. And it's going to rest against the roller guide. There's one thing, I'm not sure if you're picking it up on the camera or not, but when you're putting it through, the blade is actually hitting this belt. So what it's doing is it's actually putting a little bit of slack into the belt. And what that's actually doing is it's causing a convex kind of roll to the edge. What that actually does for you is it keeps a longer edge. It will hold the edge much better than if it were a high edge where it has a lot of slippage down that profile to where the actual cutting edge would be. So if it actually has a little bit of roll outward, which these end up creating, it will maintain that edge a little bit better. So I'll go ahead, keep drawing this through, and then I'll bring you back for the next belt change and show you where we're at with this particular grit. Okay guys, here we go. You can see the edge, the gouge is taken out into that section that it was in. And we started working somewhat of a tip back, but I think this is all I really want to grind down the edge. Every time you are grinding away, you are taking away material, so I really don't feel like grinding this down to a point where you know, it just makes the knife too small. So I want to leave some meat on it. I guess I'm not extremely worried about a tip on this knife. I do have a nice boning knife for that. It's a Forstner boning knife that I use. This one's mainly just for kitchen usage, to be honest with you. So, but it did take away the bottom nicks that were in there. I know the focus may not be the best on this. I'm trying to adjust it here, but there, you can kind of see the edge a little better that way. And it did starting to actually curve upward, where if I did continue to grind, it definitely would bring that tip back. But like I said, I just don't want to take that much material away. Not a real high concern knife, so I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to go ahead and change out the belt, go to the next, and I'll bring you back for that. Okay, I've gone through some of the various grits, no sense in boring you on those, but this last one, if you can see, it is a 1/2 inch belt. This is a real fine polishing kind of fine edge detail belt. So I'm going to go ahead, bring it through there a couple of times, and then the ultimate test is, for most people, I think, cut a piece of paper and thin little shards. So we're going to go ahead and drag it through here. On the various pieces of paper, the first one that I did, that 600 grit, I'm going to say I ran it through probably about 25 times each side. Some people might say it's, you know, you're just taking down too much, but again, there were some heavy nicks in there. This is kind of where we're at. I mean, it's got a real nice kind of edge going to it polish wise. Not quite an actual point, but so much better than what it was. So much better. No nicks against the blade at all anywhere that were, you know, up in that section up in there. No more nicks at the bottom at all. So the blade really does work well, or the belt system does really work well. So again, fine edge detail blade or belt that's in there now. I'm going to go ahead and drag it through a couple of times each side. Okay. So, not sure if that's picking it up, but it has got a very nice polished edge to it. So you know it's got that fine detail to it. I mean, just putting my thumb on that and just barely pulling it across, I mean, I can tell that is an extremely sharp edge on this now. So again, ultimate test. Piece of paper, right guys? So I mean, just little I mean, just goes through it effortlessly. as you can see, guys, this was, I want to say it was, retail was like 179 maybe, or 149, and I picked it up for either 129 or 149. I shouldn't say I picked it up. My girlfriend actually got it for me for a Christmas present. So thanks to you, babe. Appreciate it. And I do actually love this thing. It really works well. And if you guys are in some major need of sharpening, or you just want to keep a fine edge to it, I don't think there's anything nicer out there on the market than this one right here. Again, this is the Ken Onion Edition Work Sharp that does take the 3/4 inch belt, as opposed to the standard Work Sharp Edition units that take the 1/2 inch belt. So check one out, guys, and thanks for tuning in. Subscribe and like, and we'll see you on the next video.